Hi guys, welcome back to what is probably going to turn out to be a 2, 3, maybe 4-part series of videos basically relating to some strategies that you can use on the Liquid Loans protocol, and looking at those in 3 different risk tiers, so a low risk, medium risk and a high risk. So if you come to this video and you haven't seen the first one, go back and watch that, because it basically just runs through, like you can see on the screen here, just talks about some scenarios and basically explains what's in the slides, but without going into the how-to. So this video here, and maybe there might be 1 or 2 more, I might break them up to make them smaller, 1 per strategy, but they will run through, okay, well, how does the actual strategy work? And I'll take it as far as I can, just knowing that some of the tools aren't available on testnet and things like that. So we'll go as far as we can and see if I can show you how to actually implement the strategies. They're not difficult. Some people just need a little bit more guidance when they're doing these technical type things and just want some assurance that that they can see someone else doing it. So that's what this is about. So the first one was strategy 1, and I called that the stable yield play. Very, very basic in its approach. We're basically going to deposit some pulse into a vault. We'll mint some USDL, and then we'll do the basic strategy of depositing it into the stability pool. And then I might even buy a bit of loan token on off the DEX and show you how to stake that as well, just so you can get a feel for how all that works. It's not rocket science, but hey, let's go through the whole strategy. And I'll just touch on the variation, which I've put down here, where we don't have to stay within the protocol. We can do something pretty cool and use this outside of the protocol as well. But the basic play is within the protocol. All right, so let's run through, and we'll fire up the app. So this is the Liquid Loans front end, currently connected to testnet. Now I'm hiding my information up in the background up here behind my mugshot, really just for a bit of privacy. But essentially all we're going to do is, if you follow this task down here, they've sort of set it up so you can just work your way down. But really we're going to borrow some USDL, and got a bunch of test pulse sitting here. And this is worth an extremely large amount of USDL at the moment. So if I just do on 25%, I can mint about $31 million worth of USDL. That's just a function of the pricing on the testnet at the moment. 1 pulse is worth $1.80. Let's hope that comes true. Okay, so you'll sort of see me jumping from screen to screen, but don't stress too much. I'll try and look at you when I'm talking, but I've got a couple of monitors on the go here. Right, so we don't need that much. Let's keep this pretty simple. We'll knock off a few zeros here and we'll get it down to, where are we? Okay, let's keep it really simple. We'll put in an amount of pulse that enables us to withdraw up to $3,000 at a collateral ratio of 150, which is, on the Ethereum network, that would be considered pretty healthy. So I'm just going to have a little bit of coffee here. That would be considered really healthy. But we're on a new chain. We're on an asset that's the liquidity is not quite as deep. We think it's going to be a little bit more, volatile. So I probably would crank it up quite a lot. So what we might do, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to adjust this and set this to 3,000, and then I'm going to wind this back to be the bare minimum, just so you can understand what we can do. So we've put in a bit extra pulse. We're only withdrawing enough USDL for the minimum vault, and what that results in is a collateral ratio of 260, so the price can move around a little bit and we've got a bit of a buffer. Ends up in a total debt of 2,213. Now, 200 of that is what we call the liquidation reserve. So if the vault gets liquidated by someone else, that's their reward for liquidating the vault. If you pay back the loan, that you don't have to worry about paying that back. If you're going to close the loan, then you'll get that back. You won't have to worry about that. And the extra 13 cents that you can see there, the $13 is our fee. So there's a 0.68% fee currently on the protocol. And does this tell us? It doesn't actually tell you the range. I think it's between 0.5 and 5%, but it should hang around this very low end of that. If it does move away from that, there's a mechanism to bring it back down to that. Okay, so what we're going to do is confirm this and get ourselves some USDL. Okay, we'll pay our gas fees here. And it says it's waiting for, you can't see the screen, but it just says waiting for confirmation, for transaction confirmation. And once that goes through, we should end up with a little bit of USDL in our wallet. Okay, taking a little bit, there we go, that's just confirmed. All right, so we can see the balance on our wallet has reduced. We can see we now have 2,000 USDL in our wallet. Now the simple thing to do would, and the next part of our strategy was, okay, once we've deposited into the vault, we've set our collateral ratio where we wanted it, we've minted some USDL, and we can deposit that into the stability pool. Now, a couple of things I want to show you here is this comment here that I made in the slides. As you will incur loan fees, you will need slightly more USDL than you borrow to be able to pay back the loan. Okay, so what do I mean by that? If we come here and we want to repay, so what it's saying is there's not enough USDL in my wallet to be able to close out the vault, and it's saying we can't let you reduce it so that there's only $13 left in it, because that's against the rules. It has to have a minimum of 2,000. So at the moment, I actually can't close that vault. So that's that thing I was telling you. You just need to be wary of is if you want to close this vault in a hurry and you haven't got the funds there to do it, you're going to get stuck. So I'll show you how, first of all, how we fix that so you understand it. So let's go to the DEX and we'll buy a little bit of let's just buy, I don't know, I'll buy 1,000. That's going to give us enough so I can show you a few other strategies and stuff as well. All right, so we'll swap this. So we're going to swap our pulse and get some more USDL. We already have 2,000. We're going to get a little bit more. Let's keep it it doesn't matter about round numbers. I'll do it for now, but it's not going to matter much. So let's swap. Confirm our swap. Okay, we'll close that. So that's been submitted. That'll probably take, there we go. That has just come through. So you can see we've now got 4,000 USDL in our wallet. So if I go back here now to try and pay, is this going to let me do it? Okay, so now we've got enough USDL in our vault to be able to actually close out the vault. So it needed that extra 1367 that we'd paid in fees before it could actually let me shut that down. Now we don't want to close the vault. I just wanted to explain that that's something you need to be aware of when you're running these vaults and you're doing this strategy. Okay, so we said our strategy was to deposit the pulse, mint the USDL, deposit it into the stability pool. So we'll go back to stability pool, which is our next step down. And sorry, my phone's just going a little bit funny there. Okay, so let's deposit. We said we'll do the 2,000 that we'd taken out. And so the current APR on this is about 20%, and that's issued in loan token. So that is part of our strategy. So if we deposit our 2,000 USDL, let's go ahead and confirm that. Okay. It says waiting for confirmation. It's usually pretty quick on testnet, but I think I've got time for a quick sip of coffee. Okay. So that's gone through. So now what you can see is our existing stake is 2,000 USDL. We still have 2,000 sitting in our wallet, so we can put more in if we chose to. And our share of the pool is pretty measly at the moment, and that's just a function of how cheap it is to mint USDL now. So everyone will have minted millions and millions of that stuff, and they're feeling like they're billionaires playing on this protocol on testnet. Now, what's going to happen is over time, this is going to accrue the loan token. So remember, we said that the current APY is about 20.71. So now I can't remember how often it does this, whether it's every 24 hours, or I think it's every time someone deposits a stake or something like that, this will get distributed. I mean, we hold such a small amount of the pool at the moment that it's going to take a long time before it actually shows up there. But we are, in real time, actually accruing those rewards. So that is the main part of this strategy, is depositing the USDL into the stability pool. And that is the yield we're getting. Now, there's two forms of yield here. We've got the loan token that we're getting, that we're accruing. But you can see we've got this item here, liquidation gains. So if you recall from the first video, if someone else's vault gets risky, so if we go have a look at, these are all the vaults, and no one's risky at the moment. If one of these drops down to 110%, that becomes a risky vault and is likely to get liquidated because someone gets a fee for liquidating it. So it's part of keeping the protocol healthy. So it would get liquidated, but this has got a debt of $3 million against it. Someone's got to pay that down. The protocol has to pay that down before it can liquidate the collateral. So where does it get this from? Well, it actually takes that from the stability pool. So now I don't know if stability pool, do we know how much is in there? So there we go. So there's currently $32 billion in the stability pool. So that $3 million that's required to close down that vault will come from the stability pool. It doesn't just come from one person, it comes from everyone as a whole, depending upon your share of the pool. So what we would see is a little bit of our USDL would disappear, and this would go down to 1,999 and a few fractions of a cent, because we only hold a small part of the pool. So what we would see is our USDL would decrease, and we would get given some pulse. But that pulse, because we said a liquidation happens at 110%, about 9, so a part of that goes to the loan stakers, and I'll explain that in a moment, but the lion's share of it goes, so about 9, anywhere between 9 and 9.5% excess goes to the people that are in the stability pool. So that's your reward for being a stability provider. You get the loan token and you get discounted pulse. Now, if you recall from the first video, I said, okay, that's fine. What that means is your USDL is going down. And you may not want that exposure where you don't have enough USDL to cover your vault. So in that case, you would have to claim your pulse and your loan and sell the pulse back to the market so you can top up your stake in the stability pool so that you do have enough USDL to pay down the debt on your vault if you ever needed to. So that's your escape hatch. That's our exit scenario for this strategy. Is we need to be sure that we always have enough USDL to be able to pay down our vault. Okay, bearing in mind that there's also that little fee we need to take into account. So that's that strategy in a nutshell. Now, just for the sake of rounding out that strategy, let's buy a little bit of loan token so you can see how this works. I'm not sure how much loan token's going for these days. Okay, so 10 pulse will get us 11,000 loan. We don't need much. We just need some to mess around with. So let's get a bit of that. Close that off. And cool, that's just processed. So the next part down is the staking pool. So as part of our strategy, we're going to earn these loan rewards. What do we do with them? Excuse me. We put them into the staking pool. So the yield on that is currently about 7%. And that's paid in USDL and Pulse. So when someone swaps their USDL, so they do what's called a redemption. So they might have 10 USDL in their wallet and they want to actually get the Pulse for it. Now, the reality is probably most people will just buy it off the DEX. They'll do a swap up here and swap their USDL for Pulse to do that. But if the price of USDL swings wildly, someone may actually come and do a redemption. And if they do that, there's a redemption fee. So they have to pay a fee to redeem, and that you'll get a portion of those redemption fees. Likewise, every time someone takes a loan, you'll get a portion of those fees. So that $13 that we paid actually gets distributed between everyone in the loan staking pool. So let's just say we wanted to, I'll do 75%. We'll confirm that. Cool. It just says waiting for transaction once again. But once we do that, we will have entered the staking pool, and that sort of rounds out our strategy where we're after initially the loan tokens that we're getting from being in the stability pool. So the extra fees that we get from being in the loan staking pool are just another added bonus. Now, what I think is nice with this strategy is, should you wish, you can pay back the debt over time with the yield from your staking loan tokens. So what do I mean by that is, over time, so we've got our staked loan here, and that's going to accrue USDL. Every so often we can hit the claim button, and that will put this USDL into our wallet. So we end up with growing our pool of USDL. We can actually go back and repay portions of our, let's say we earn $100. We could actually pay back a portion of our debt, and it would reduce our debt over time. So it's a really nice strategy, this one, where you're not exposed to the USD volatility of the assets. You've got a nice way to make some yield, multiple ways. So there's a couple of levels of creating yield here, and you can actually pay back some of your debt and just free up your vault. So it's a really nice way. Or I'll keep that separate. I was going to go on a bit of a tangent, but I think it's important to understand that this is a pretty risk-free strategy in terms of USD price volatility. So we'll keep it simple so that it remains that. Now, just one little twist I want to put on this is, when we deposited our USDL into the stability pool, we said we're getting about 20.71% APY. Can we do better than that? Is there somewhere else we can do better than that? Maybe. Let's go have a look. So what we could do, now unfortunately this isn't working on testnet, or it is, but I don't have the correct link to hand. But if we go across and have a look at something like the Fox protocol, let's just connect. So I'm connected to mainnet here. But what I wanted to show you, we'll just give this a chance to bring up some values. And obviously we're not going to be able to do this because we're flicking between testnet and mainnet here. There we go. But there's a couple of interesting pools here. So we've got a stable pool, which is the Coast stable coin, and wrapped USDC. So they should remain pretty close to 1-to-1. They might deviate here and there, but shouldn't be much variation, and they should come back to where their peg is if they do ever deviate. Same with this one, bridge stable, so wrapped USD, sorry, wrapped USDT, wrapped USDC, and DAI. So these are stable pool assets where you're not going to be subject to impermanent loss. So and it means if we hold assets in these pools, we're still holding the USD equivalent values. Now what's interesting here is, so this pool currently the APR is between 10 and 23. So probably not as lucrative as the stability pool at this point in time, but you get paid in different assets as well. So remember that this one, you're probably getting, you are getting paid in stablecoin, as opposed to this one, your APY is actually in a mixture of Pulse and Loan. So there is price fluctuations there on those ones. Whereas this one, you'll be getting it in, actually I tell a lie, you'll be getting it in two things. You'll be getting it in a stablecoin and also the incentive token for this platform, which is the FUX token that you can see there. So you've got swapping fees, which was more than likely in USD equivalent, and then the other stuff is in probably in the incentive token. So just bear that in mind. And likewise here, between 17 and 42. So just a few different options for you. But the main thing is you're still holding the core of your value that you've deposited in here in the USD equivalent. So you're not going to lose value on that. So that's really important, because that's our exit strategy. Is we will always have the USDL or equivalent value available, so we can unwind the position by repaying the debt. Yep. So that's the beauty of this strategy, is it removes that price volatility risk for us. So that's pretty much this in a nutshell. Hope you can see it. It's not difficult. I've gone through and I went off on a few different tangents because I thought it was worth explaining those. But this is the bare minimum way to use this protocol. Now, you don't have to create a vault to participate in some of these things. You can just go buy USDL off the market like I did and to put it into the stability pool. So you don't have to actually set up even a vault if you want. But hey, we're about getting a little bit of leverage on our Pulse, because we still want to hold that, but we want to play some of these other nice games where we can get some yield, but without incurring too much risk. And this is one of the least risky ways you can be a player on this system and not get caught out. I'll finish up with one final comment, just so you can understand why I like this strategy as a good solid one. Let's just say the absolute worst happened, and let's have a look. So the Pulse that we had in our vault, 3,000 Pulse, and we've extracted essentially $2,000. We've extracted that out, and this is a liquidation fee and a loan fee. So that's what's at risk for us there, is the $213 should we get liquidated. But let's assume absolute worst happened, price of Pulse dipped 90%. Obviously, we would get liquidated. Like our vault would get shut down at that point. However, we've already extracted the $2,000. So if the price of Pulse dipped, we got liquidated, kept dipping, effectively, we would be able to buy back all that Pulse that got liquidated, probably cheaper than the price we got liquidated, unless it wicked down and spiked back up and we couldn't no longer do that. But the chances of that happening are slim. If it was going on a downtrend and we got liquidated, then you would still be in the chance to extract your funds out of the stability pool or one of the FUX pools if you're in that, and buy your Pulse back on market for probably cheaper than what you got liquidated at. So you wouldn't actually be worse off. Does that make sense? Hope so. That's why I really like this strategy. It's pretty simple, relatively risk-free, but has a nice few outs if you ever need them. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up here. That's about 25 minutes. I don't like to make my videos any longer than that. Like I say, you might want to pair watching this video up with the first video where I run through where I just talk about the strategy. And I might even stitch a couple of these together so you can link those together and have them in one video as well. We'll see how we go, see how I'm feeling. But hopefully that helps, and you can see that, yeah, this is a nice low risk strategy you can play. Bye for now.